Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 20 of BrewFOs. Today with me is Scott Wolter, forensic geologist, author, TV host, Freemason, Templar, I would say. Yeah, yeah.
You can say
And
that. You can say that. That would be appropriate.
cheers, Scott. Thank you for coming on.
Hey,
Let
here
me
you go,
open this up
brother.
here. There we go. Cheers.
Oh,
And you were telling me about that brewery. Where is that? Out
okay.
in
So this beer is a local one. It's Surly Brewing, and it's called Axeman IPA. And I love a good IPA.
Yeah,
In
me too,
fact, I don't drink any other beer than an IPA.
man.
This is the smoothest, tastiest IPA that I think I've ever had, and it'll get your attention too, which is nice.
So if I'm in Minnesota, I got to check that out.
Oh yeah, we'll take you to Surly Brewing. There's another one that they have that comes out right about now called Abrasive, and it's another double I. These are double IPAs, by the way. And Abrasive is double IPA, and I haven't seen it in the store yet, but I should see it any day. And that stuff is fine too.
Nice. Yeah, I love a good IPA. Hoppier the better for me too. I really like the hops and stuff.
Oh
So.
yeah, I like a little bitter taste, and of course, the hoppier, a little more alcohol. So you don't have to buy as many, right?
Yeah, yeah. And this is actually my friend's brewery, Michi Brewing, and this is an IPA as well, and it's got Nelson hops, and those are like some of my favorite. But
Nice,
I think that's from
nice.
New Zealand. But Scott, it's been 18 episodes, or 19, sorry, or 18, is that right? How am I? I'm bad with math, but you were my first episode, and
Is that right?
yeah, now we're on 20 here, and it's like I just wanted to say thank you for kind of starting it off
Oh
on this
yeah,
journey.
no, my pleasure, man. That's no problem. I mean, look, you're helping me too, helping promote the work we're doing, and the books that we're writing, and everything. So I mean, it's synergistic, right? All ships rise with the tide. It helps you. It helps me. It helps people that are listening, hopefully, that are interested in the subject matter. So it's all good.
Cool, man. I want to talk about actually your latest book, which I haven't read yet, but it's the greatest Templar tale never told.
Right here.
Yeah, but it's like an ongoing story, though, right? From what you've been talking about throughout your books.
Right,
Um,
right. Well, yeah.
Cremona Document, to be specific. But
Well, yeah. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that because I just went and grabbed all the books I've done since I started with this one,
yeah,
the Kensington Runestone, Compelling New Evidence, 574 pages of um, what I would say is the definitive answer to the question about the authenticity of the runestone. It's absolutely 100% authentic. And of course, if people go on to the internet, they're going to see that the prevailing wisdom is that it's a hoax. And the only thing that people can really hang their hat on that makes any sense as far as calling it a hoax is they say the language and the runes and these words didn't exist and these runes didn't exist. Well, for a long time, that's what they believed. They had never seen them before. So frankly, that was an erroneous conclusion. But as it turns out, we have now found all the runes on the runestone, all the words, all the grammar, all the dialect, all the dating features. So they can't say that anymore, but the internet needs to catch up. And so anyway, it was some groundbreaking work that we did, and I'm very proud of that. But after I published that book, I got all this pushback from people, and I kept saying, well, all right, I mean, I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. Tell me where I screwed up and I'll fix it. Well, we didn't screw up. They just didn't like the result. Well, too effing bad, man. I mean, that's not my problem. That's your problem. I mean, just because you don't want it to be real, that's not evidence of anything. And really, that's what happened. So that prompted me to dig deeper. to try to answer the questions of, who carved this thing? Mm-hmm. Where did they come from? And why did they come here to the center of the continent in North America back at a time when people didn't believe there were any Europeans here? Now, we now know that there were plenty of cultures that came here long before Columbus, long before the Templars. So that narrative has been shattered pretty much. But anyway, those questions were burning questions for me. And what I like to say, Chad, you'll like this if you haven't heard it, is my faith was well founded in the rock. The rock said it was real. I trust rocks. I don't trust some people. And I knew that if the rock said it was real, then all the language, runes, dialect, and everything had to be there. I went over to Sweden 5 times, found it all. But this is really the process of investigation that I use in my job all the time, right? I follow the facts. I follow the evidence trail wherever it goes. And that evidence trail has now led to all of these books.
Yeah.
And including the latest one, which now answers all of those questions. Who did this? Where did they come from? And why they came over here? And really, the story has evolved and unfolded, and it's turned out to be way more incredible than I could have imagined. And so when you read this latest book, you're not going to put it down. Once you start reading those journal entries, you're just going to go, oh my God, and you'll just keep going. People are blowing through this thing, and it really tells the untold story of the founding of the United States of America.
And so talking about those journals, so these journals are part of what you call the Cremona Document, right? And the Cremona Document isn't just one document, it's a bunch of things all put together.
No.
Okay.
They are two separate things. The journals are 20 books that span a period of about 400 years. There are 13 of them are written in Latin. 2 are written in Old English. You think Latin's tough, try Old English. It's impossible. And then the last 5 were written in modern English. And basically they chronicle the history of a mission that started with the fugitive Knights Templar who fled France after the put down on October 13th of 1307 and disappeared into history. They didn't disappear into history. They went to Scotland and they brought their treasures to Scotland. And we know now that they hid those treasures initially inside King's Cave on the island of Arran in Western Scotland. Eventually, those treasures made their way over to Weymss Caves. And then in 1395 and 1398, they were brought over to North America and hidden over here by the Sinclair clan. And then the obligation of this sacred mission, which they called the Covenant, which was to establish a sanctuary at a place far to the west, as it says on the Kensington runestone, where they could live free from the tyranny of the monarchs of Europe, free from the persecution of the Roman Catholic Church. And I don't think anybody has to dig too deeply to figure out that those two tenets grew out of the persecution of the Knights Templar order. So this goes back to the persecution of the Templars. And these are the two main tenets that we see embedded within our Constitution. And so that mission to establish that sanctuary, they called the Covenant, was passed down through 5 generations of the Sinclairs. And then it transferred from the Sinclair clan to the Weymss clan, who were shipping barons in Scotland back then, all the way through to this very day. And it was a father to son tradition. The your obligation was to visit the Western lands and check on those treasures to make sure that they were safe. And you were obligated to visit the Western lands twice in your lifetime, once with your father, once with your son, and then pass the obligation on to him. And that went on for 15 generations.
Oh, wow.
5 in the Sinclairs, 10 with the Weymss. And that's what these journals are. And you just have to read them and understand what a sacred mission this was. And I want to make sure, Chad, that I don't forget a very important, compelling aspect of these journals is not only did these 2 Scottish clans uphold this covenant, and not only did they bring the treasures over, but Earl Henry Sinclair also brought over 120 surviving descendants of those fugitive Knights Templar that left France in 1307. Their descendants, their children and grandchildren, were brought over to North America as well. And if you stop and think about it, they had been excommunicated from the church. The plague was ravaging through Europe. Mm-hmm. They really had no reason to stay in Scotland. And the really important aspect that I wanted to talk about was they bonded with the natives. The Templars, when they went over, bonded with the indigenous people through ritual and intermarriage. They practice Freemasonry just like we do, and it's amazing how similar their degrees are. In fact, I talk about that in my book, Akhenaten to the Founding Fathers, where I compare the rituals of the natives called the Medewin with Freemasonry, and they're identical. Now, there are some interesting differences, but essentially it's a death and resurrection ritual that they've been doing for tens of thousands of years. So anybody who tells you that Freemasonry didn't exist prior to 1717 does not know what they're talking about. And so those are the journals. Those are the journals.
Okay, so that's the journal. So the Cremona Document is separate from that. I'm sorry. I thought that it was all in one thing. The Cremona Document, is that mainly, is that the marriage certificate that?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Cremona Document is completely independent and separate from the journals. They're separated in time, space, and individuals. There's no connection until I came along. And so the Cremona Document has, I mean, as extensive as the journals are, the Cremona Document goes way further. There are, I mean, at least 30 encrypted messages. The longest one is 6,609 characters long. It goes on for 8 pages of encrypted, symbols. It's got maps. It's got a bunch of maps. It's got letters. It's got different messages. I mean, it's got artifacts. It's got, I mean, it's just, the information is so vast. And actually right here in the basement over there is our walk-in vault. We have a walk-in vault where everything in the Cremona Document that we have is sealed in there.
Well, don't now the Catholic Church knows about it, and they're going to send their agents and come get it from you. So you better watch out. No.
Yeah, come and get it. I dare you. That's not all we have to protect that material, but in any case, they're completely independent. They're both profoundly detailed. They tell essentially the same story, and they confirm each other, which is beautiful. And, the third aspect of this, the third pillar, if you will, the Cremona Document, the Sinclair Weymss Journals, and then all the research that myself and other people have done on artifacts like the Runestone, Spirit Pond, the Westford Knight, the Westford Boat Stone, the Tingsboro Map Stone, the Inhoque Signo Vinci Stone, the Newport Tower, for God's sakes. And there's a whole bunch of other artifacts that are connected to this story. And many of them are called out in the Cremona Document and in the Sinclair Weymss Journals. So, it's this may sound, I don't want to, sound like I'm boasting or anything, but I have to say, everything that we have talked about for 25 years, we're pretty much right about everything.
And so,
the story is hung together.
and I was going to ask you about the Oak Island book.
Yeah,
it was a long one. What was it? Do I have it written down somewhere?
it's right here.
Oak Island, Knights Templar, and the Holy Grail. That's it. Yeah,
the Holy
that was a trip, man. That was a trip.
Secrets of the Underground Project revealed. Yeah. So you read it?
Yeah, I read that one. Yeah, and
okay.
And one of my I think, even if like I guess my favorite characters or humans was Altamara.
Altamara,
Yeah, Altamara. That was such a fascinating story about her, and specifically what she said about virginity, and also her ultimate end, how that happened. But like, what a crazy story, man!
I know it's nuts, and so what I was doing with that in here was I referenced the specific Cremona document material and the journals material that was germane to Oak Island, right? And the book, I reveal a lot of stuff from the Cremona document material that I have not published yet. I'm now working on the definitive Cremona document book. It's already written. We've been writing it as we've gone along, and as great a story as the latest book is, the Sinclair Weymss Journals. When you read the Cremona document, it's actually going to have to be published in 2 volumes because there's so much material. It's over 500 pages now, and this is just compared to like this book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much material that, and it's such a complicated story, but it all fits together, right? And I have to tell you, I mean, I do forensics for a living, and most of the time I'm working on concrete or cementitious materials of some type that have undergone some type of failure or problem. And, it gets pretty involved sometimes. But I got to tell you, this story is the most complicated, challenging, and meaningful investigation I've ever done in my life. And I know this is going to be my legacy. I mean, I worked at the Pentagon after 9/11. I thought that would be the thing that people are going to remember me for, and murder cases and all kinds of crazy. But no way, man. It's going to be the Runestone, the Templars, and the true history of the founding of America. That's my legacy, whether I like it or not.
I really enjoyed you and Timothy Hogan did a show on Gaia.
Oh, yeah.
The Mysteries of the Knights. Yeah.
Nice.
That was really cool, too.
Yeah. Well, we talked a little bit about some aspects of both of these documents, the Sinclair Weymss Journals and the Cremona Document. But I think there's a good chance, but I don't get excited until it happens, that there will be a season 2 of that. Probably going to film it this year, this 2026, if it happens. And one of the things that I said to the producers at Gaia, I said, guys, you got to get us out of the chairs. We got to go into the field and show people some of this stuff. It's one thing to talk about it. They did a great job with AI images and graphics. But there's nothing like boots on the ground actually going and showing these places. And the other thing that happens when I say this to people all the time, what's really important about not just sitting around talking about doing something, but actually doing it. I always go into an investigation or to visit a site with sort of, okay, here's what I'm hoping to accomplish. And what usually happens is I may or may not accomplish this stuff, but by going there, all of a sudden, I may find something that's even better than all the stuff I was hoping for. So going there is so important because your initial plan may change, and you'll end up with something even more fantastic than you were hoping for. So we'll see what they want to do, but I have a feeling that that'll probably happen.
So going there, talking about going there, you also, if people want to go to certain places, sometimes you take people to these sites and you show them around and give them the history
Right.
and stuff, which is really cool.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I mean, there are some places like the Temple of the Goddess, for example. I'm not going to take anybody there. I learned my lesson from doing America on Earth. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, I was out east at a Rosicrucian meeting, the annual meeting for Rosicrucians, and I gave a presentation there. I was elevated to the 8th grade, which was really cool. But we stopped and visited some sites. And one of the sites we visited again was the Judah Color Rock in, I think it's in North Carolina. I can't remember. It's like Tennessee or North Carolina. I always get it confused. But that was one of the places that we did an episode on of America on Earth. And about 5 years ago or 6 years ago, somebody went there and spray painted this amazing, native petroglyph that is just incredible. And it turns out that 5 of the artifacts and sites that we featured on the show have either been desecrated or destroyed. The Georgia Guidestones a couple of years ago were absolutely destroyed, and they were destroyed out of ignorance. There were people that misinterpreted what the inscription were. They assumed that it was some type of anti-population thing, that we need to lower the population down to 500 million, and that's not what it says. The Guidestones were put up as a guide to humanity, that if we had a nuclear holocaust, and remember when they were put up, this was 1980, and we were still in the middle of the Cold War. I remember it very well. And there was concern that there might be nuclear devastation. And then the survivors, this was their guide, right? If there was survivors, but it was basically done by Christian radicals, radical Christians that didn't understand the context of the message, didn't care to find out, and so they destroyed it. And I said the night that it happened, I said, and I was interviewed by a guy down in Georgia who wanted to talk to me about the night before one of the stones was blown up, and we were live on the air, and we didn't agree politically because I started talking about what I thought was the motivation behind it, and he got a little defensive. We kind of got into it a little bit, but then we reeled ourselves in, and then all of a sudden he said, "Scott," he said, "there's breaking news. This is live during a podcast." He said, "They're bulldozing the stones. They're just bulldozing them." And I said, "I'll tell you what right now, and I'll make this claim on air right now. I know who did this, and I guarantee you there will not be an arrest. Nobody will ever be prosecuted for destroying those stones." What's the date today?
Yeah, what is it? December 8th? I don't know. 2025? Nothing's happened.
Whatever the date is,
nothing's happened.
There still hasn't been an arrest. There's been nothing, and there won't be, because it was an inside job locally.
Yeah, that's how that stuff always works out, right? Like,
yeah,
it's weird. It's weird how that.
That's what happens when there's, I don't want to sound like I'm anti-religion, but religions tend to have rules and tell people how to think, what to believe, and what to do, and that's not right.
Is it wrong to be anti-religion?
Well, I guess that depends on your point of view, right? Let me just tell you something about the Cremona document that the world has not heard yet, but I'm publishing it very soon. One of the cipher phrases that was necessary to decode one of the encrypted messages was one of the most prophetic phrases that really sums up everything. The power of God is within you. Organized religion does not want people to understand that and to believe that, but it's true. It's also the message that Jesus was teaching that has been suppressed, and that the power of God is within all of us. So when we get together collectively, if we all understand that, and we work together, and we appreciate, respect, and honor other people like we honor ourselves, that's really what it's all about. That's what Jesus was teaching. Organized religion does not teach that. You have to follow a certain set of rules, or if you don't do what we tell you, you're going to go down there. Well, I hate to break it to you, there is no down there, and there is no up there. It's everywhere, right? It's everywhere. So when I saw that phrase the first time it appeared, and it appears more than once, that becomes sort of the prophetic phrase of the Cremona Document material, the overriding message. The power of God is within you. Now, I'm not here to tell people what to do. I'm not here to tell people what to believe. That's up to you. And if you want to be a Catholic, you want to be a Muslim, you want to be Jewish, do whatever you want. That's up to you. But you need to understand that incarnate spirit of God, it's right here. It's right here in all of us. And so that's why there are no special people. There isn't anybody that's better than anybody else, right? Education may be different, but we all have that in here. That power of God is right here. And the more that people understand and know that, I think the better off we'll all be, because everyone else has it too. That makes us all equal, right? At least
Yeah.
I think so.
No, I think that's great, man. Wow. All of that is just so great. I totally agree with you. Speaking of the Cremona document too, can you tell us what your thoughts on Jesus? Tell me what your thoughts on Jesus is now. Like, do you like, what's the story here? So he was married, he had kids. Did he survive the crucifixion?
Yes.
Okay. And then he got away?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Now,
Like, that's like, when people hear that, they're just going to be like, who the fuck is this guy? Right. You know?
well, look, I don't expect a lot of people to believe it. But I will say this, and I'm not going to be too cute, Chad, but I am going to show you something that happened recently that a lot of people know about. Do you see this picture right here?
Yeah. Is that a vase in your hand?
It's a green jar.
Okay.
We found this in August. And the Cremona document material that we received this year led us to this place. And we used a metal detector and we discovered this jar. It had a tin top on it, and inside the jar, which was sealed with wax, were 8 buttons, metal buttons, big buttons of knights holding a shield and a lance, because that was the backup. If the tin top ever corroded away, this was the backup in the jar so it could be found with the metal detector. It was designed that way. And we know that it was repackaged in 1953. And everything in it that we can date all fits, right? But what's inside of it is a scroll. And I can't talk about what the message says yet, in part because it's called the Yeshua scroll. Do you know who Yeshua is?
Jesus.
Jesus. Yeah. And what this message says, if people choose to believe it, could change the world.
Okay, what if you choose not to believe it, but you choose to know that it or understand that it's true? Like, I know like the belief thing. Like, what if the evidence points to the knowledge of it is, we know it's true. You don't have to believe that it's true, kind of thing.
Well, I would say that. I would say exactly that.
Okay.
But I can't go any more than that because I have a group of people that I work with. Whenever we get new material, we all work together. In most cases, we'll decipher a message and then we will talk about its significance. What does it mean? And what do we do with it? And that's my call. And Don Rue, the guy that has been getting this material. So we work very closely together, and we don't do anything unless we agree. Now, in the case of the Yeshua scroll, Don doesn't want to, he said, just let me know what you're going to do, but you decide, because I found it. It happened to be me that found it. He was not able to be with us because he had been in a car accident and broke his shoulder and he was all messed up. So he just was not. But the first thing I did, we drove right down and said, Don, this is what we got. And so we're going to reveal that when the time is right. But all I can tell you is it has the potential to change the world. I'm not, that's not hyperbole. That's not bullshit. It's true.
That whole story with Don too is so fascinating. If I suggest everyone read Scott's books if you guys want to go down that whole journey. We could talk about it a little bit, but like Don had friends. I can't remember if Don was in intelligence, but friends in different intelligence communities and stuff, and they give you pieces come.
What happened was Don's best friend, his name was Bill Jackson. And they met when they were kids. Don was 7 years old and Bill was 11 when they first met. And they lived, in New York City, and they grew up together. And then Bill was a medic in the Korean War. And in 1961, when Don was 19, he and another guy that they went to school with, who was a year older than Don, a guy named Dan Spartan, formed a company, a private security company that was hired by our military to do certain things to keep us all safe. When Bill got out of the Korean War in 1962, he needed a job, so Don got him a job with the agency. And remember, they were hired by our military to do certain things. So they were a private security company, kind of like Blackwater, that was hired by our military to do things in Afghanistan and Iraq and other places. Anyway, so in 1968, these guys were scuba diving around off of Bannerman Island in the Hudson River, north of New York, and they were looking for munitions that had been blown into the water off of Bannerman Island. Francis Bannerman was an arms dealer, and he had a stockade of materials. He died in 1916, and then I think it was 1918, that stuff all blew up, and everything ended up in the water. Well, Don and Bill and a couple other guys would go there regularly, find the munitions in the water, take it back to the Bronx, and pawn it for money, right? Well, in 1968, Don was looking on the eastern shore of the river, about a quarter mile away. The island is closest to the eastern shore of the river, which is about a mile and a half across there at that point. And he found this decorative ornament. And he knew that Bill's wife, Muriel, was a gardener, so he gave it to her. He found two of them, actually. And he gave those to her, and she put them in her garden. The following year, in 1969, Bill and Muriel's then 5-year-old son was playing in the garden, grabbed one of these ornaments, knocked it off, it hit the ground, it broke open, and inside was this brass seal, about almost exactly the size of a hockey puck, and a clay tube about this long that was sealed with beeswax on either end. And inside were two parchments, animal skin parchments with Theban script written on them. Now,
Wow.
That's how this whole story really started. Now, the two parchments, they were deciphered after Bill Jackson died, so he never knew what the messages were. It turns out we get part of the alternate resurrection story, and it was encrypted in two different languages, Portuguese and French, but the message is the same in both. And it took about a year and a half of correspondence in 2013 for that message to finally be decoded. Bill Jackson died in 2000. Anyway, it was the brass seal that they finally figured out how to open it. And inside were some metal inserts inscribed on, and there was things inscribed on these metal inserts. They were brass. One of the things that was inscribed on it was the word Onteora. Onteora is the ancient name for North America that goes back over 2,000 years. Oh, that's right. North America wasn't discovered until Columbus. I mean, Jesus, stop.
Mhm.
That's what they called it back then. And he did not know what this word was, and it led him on a 2-year journey to finally figure out what that word meant. And what he did was, Dan Spartan's father had served in World War II with his close buddy who was French and actually worked for the French underground and the French resistance. And then after the war, he opened up a rare bookstore. So Spartan gave him the name of this guy. Jackson went over to France, and he ended up buying a booklet from this guy. And it was published in 1715, and it basically was Native American words in European languages.
Wow.
Yeah. And one of the words that was in that book was Onteora.
Onteora.
So what he decided to do was to track down the descendants of the two authors. One was named Rochefoucauld. Now, if you watch The Curse of Oak Island, you'll hear that name a lot. And it's a legitimate name. And so he was one of the authors. The other author was named Benvenuto. And Jackson was able to track down the descendants of both families. But it was the Benvenuto family that he met with in Rome that had the Cremona document with the word Onteora in it. There was a reference in that 1715 pamphlet that mentioned the Cremona document, but it was called something different. Don and I named it that. And the reason we did that is because we know the document spent time in a monastery in Cremona, Italy. So we just started calling it the Cremona document. But it was called other things in the past. I'm not going to confuse people with all of that. So anyway, he met with this guy in Rome with the Benvenuto family in a hotel. And he looked at the document. and they were able to transcribe or translate part of the document of the story called A Year We Remember, where Sir Ralph de Sudley brought 6 ships over to North America to go recover the scrolls hidden in the Temple of the Goddess in upstate New York and the Catskills. And that's one of the documents that he got was the marriage document of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. But Jackson at first saw that when de Sudley's mission was going around the southern coast of Newfoundland, one of their ships hit rocks and they limped to shore. They salvaged what they could. They couldn't repair it. So they towed it out and scuttled it in only about 35 feet of water. So Jackson said, can I copy this page, take this information, and I'll be back? And the Benvenuto family said, go ahead. So he came back to the States, calls Don and said, hey, Don, I want to go to Newfoundland and go scuba diving. He didn't tell him why. He didn't tell him what they were looking for. And Don said, and he said the magic words, I'll pay. So they went, they found the ship, and then Jackson, that convinced Jackson that the story and the document was true. So he went back to Rome and he purchased it in December of 1971. So that's how he got the Cremona document.
Wow. Okay, so people listening to this, probably have so many questions. I mean, I have so many questions. We could go on for a while on this, but yeah. I'm just wondering. So how would you test the authenticity of a document like this? Like, how would you what would you do? How do we figure out if this is real?
Well, there's multiple lines in the case of the Cremona document. There's just so much stuff. There's so many. There's maps. There are letters, like I said, encrypted documents. It is so vast. It is so complicated. It is so difficult to keep everything straight and then make the connections and tie it all together. But yet it does all tie together. And, in the, the book, The Greatest Templar Tale Never Told, I have the last chapter in the book is called Analysis. And basically what it is I analyze every aspect of, the story that I can, analysis, right? Mm-hmm. And, I look for inconsistencies or consistencies. In some cases, we have received documents in the Cremona material that have invisible messages. In other words, you need a black light to pull them out.
Wow.
There are names, there are dates, there are places. All of that can be checked out. We have checked out all of that stuff, and it all checks out. Now, are there questions? For sure. There's plenty of yellow flags, mm-hmm. but I have not found a red flag yet.
Wow.
And really what sort of turned the corner for me was, when I'd already been working on the Cremona document starting in 2006 when I first met Don. So I've been working on this now for 20 years with Don. And then the journals came in 2016. And then we see these connecting threads that come with the journals. So the journals are not connected in any way to the Cremona document material, yet we get this dovetailing of information. And there are a lot of things that we can compare between the two. So,
and when you say the journals came, Scott, that's when one of these intelligence guys died off? Is that when their family mails it to
No,
you?
no,
How's
the
that?
journals were brought to me by Diana Muir,
Okay.
who was didn't know Don. She was, living in Georgia. Don lives up in New York, and she was actually investigating her own genealogy.
Oh,
And
okay.
she went to a small town in Tennessee called Greenville, Tennessee, and they had a small historical society there. She was actually going back in time, researching her ancestry. And she ended up connecting with the last guy to write in the journals, who died in 1812.
Whoa.
And I've been to this place. I followed in her footsteps everywhere she went to see if her story hung together, and it did. So yeah, and then she ended up stealing them. She stole them
Whoa.
from that historical society. She put them in her bag because she got there at the end of the day. The guy told her that they were closing soon. And he went down in the basement to put some things away that they had been looking at. So she knew she had some time, and she just stuffed them in her bag and walked out and left.
Whoa.
But she also knew that he did not understand what they had, because if he did understand, we'd already know the story, right? This happened in 2005. And so when she went back to Georgia, she kind of got busy. She put them in the closet and she forgot about them. But she said what made her get them out again was she watched one of our shows on America on Earth. And it was the last episode we did in season 3, where we talked about Earl Henry Sinclair. And she remembered that name in the journals, but it was written in Latin, Henricus Santa Claro. And that clicked in her head. So she went back, and then she translated everything and figured it all out. When she got the story, she called me.
Wow. That's really
That's how
cool.
it happened.
Okay, so when I was bringing up that when these intelligence guys die and you guys get like more pieces of what's that? What are those
That's
pieces
the
of?
Cremona document.
That's more of the Cremona
That's
document. Because they're trying to keep it more secret, and if it all comes out at once, then
no, here's what happened.
okay.
Jackson, once he got the Cremona material,
Yeah.
it's like, holy F, right? Yeah. So what he did is he did as much as he could in the field as possible, recruiting his best friend, Don, to go with him. Don never married, so he was always available, right? He couldn't say, no, you got nothing going on, let's go.
Yeah.
And Jackson always paid, so what the hell, let's go, right? So this went on until 1994, when Jackson realized that he was dying. Remember, he was a medical doctor of arterial sclerosis and Parkinson's disease, and he knew that he only had a few years left.
Okay.
So what he did was he sold the Cremona document to the Vatican. And of course, when I first heard this, I'm like, oh my God, not them, anybody but them, right? Mm-hmm. Well, as it turned out, what Bill did was he sold them enough of the document so they would pay him a tidy sum. And it's interesting because the transaction did not happen with Bill Jackson and the Vatican. The Vatican sent a representative, and Bill had one of the military generals that he had already worked with, right, to be his representative with the Vatican. And you know who the Vatican sent? You should look this up. A guy by the name of Archbishop Paul Marcinkus.
Okay.
Paul Marcinkus was a badass. He's the guy who killed Pope John Paul I in 1978 when he died after 33 days as Pope. Look it up.
Whoa.
They were trying to pin it on the Freemasons. 33. Nice try. Anyway, Marcinkus was the only one that had a key to the Pope's bedchamber. and the Pope was found dead in bed.
Whoa.
Anyway, Marcinkus eventually retired in Tucson, Arizona in 2004.
Whoa.
And 6 months later, he was found hanging from the rafters.
No way.
Suicide, right? He had too many secrets. He knew too much. Anyway,
Wow.
Paul Marcinkus, you've seen the movie The Da Vinci Code?
Mm-hmm.
You remember the albino monk who was flagellating himself?
Yeah.
That character was based on Marcinkus.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's the guy that represented the Vatican and purchased the Cremona document.
Okay.
It wouldn't, and then Jackson actually gave a painting to Don in 1996 that Don, he never told Don what was in that painting. It was a place that they used to go hiking along the Hudson River. And it's a beautiful overlook. And, you know, it was a famous artist that did it. And this was a print. And Don always liked it. So Jackson gave it to him as a gift before he died. So Jackson dies in 2000. He lived for 6 more years. He died in 2000. And then in 2008, Don moves from where he used to live up to where he lives now in Dover Plains. And he didn't have room in his trailer home for this picture, so he put it in the storage area when he first moved up there. In 2008, he was doing some spring cleaning, and he decided he was going to toss this picture because he didn't have any room for it. He picks up the frame, it falls apart. And in the back, behind the backing, was a little envelope that had 2 floppy disks in it.
Oh, geez.
I have it. It's right in the back room there. Don gave it to me. I don't know what I'm going to do with this shit. So I said, give it to me. So anyway, but on that disk, and eventually when Don took it to the IT cryptographer with Spartan Enterprises, that guy's name was Dave Ryan. Ryan was able to pull the information off the floppy disks. And what was on there was a old Word version of the translated material that Jackson had sold to the Vatican. It was already translated. The cipher phrase was already encoded, and it was an English message that tells the whole story about the Subtleties trip to North America in 1177 to 1180, when he recovered half of the scrolls. Okay. And then he comes over, Altamar is killed. We talked about that. But he picked her up in Denmark. On the way over, they went to Denmark to get her because she was the navigator.
Yeah.
Could get them back. And the reason was she was indigenous. They had brought her over from North America and she knew how to get back. So that's why they got her. And then they lost a ship, as we talked about. And then they dropped off 26 people at the mouth of the St. Lawrence River. 26 is 2 times 13, which is a very sacred number in Templarism and to the indigenous people, because it's the number of the goddess. It was also a sacred number to the Templars. That's why the church put them down on October 13, 1307. That's why the order was originally founded. When a papal bull was signed in Troyes, France, on January 13 of 1129, that's when the order was officially founded. None of this is coincidence, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so that story is told. And then Jackson has about an 11-page narrative that was on that floppy disk where he talks about all of his research and what was really going on. And then we find out about, what would it be, 2017, about 9 years later. I was driving out in on the East Coast. I went to the Newport Tower, and I was by myself, and I was driving back to Minneapolis, and I stopped to see Don in New York. And I and I asked him if I could get a drink of water, and I go to get a drink of water, and I look on the fridge, and here's a picture of Rick Lagina with Don and some other guy from the show. And I said, Rick Lagina was here? He said, yeah, he was here about a week and a half ago. I said, well, what did he want? He said, well, there's a contract on the table there that he left. He wants me to sign. You're in the TV business. You read it.
Tell me the Oak Island show.
The Oak Island show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember this. Yeah.
So I'm reading this thing, and I go, oh, this is great, Don. He wants you to give him full access and proprietary use of all your documents, all your artifacts. They're not going to pay you one dime. Yeah. Oh, but you could be on the show for your 15 minutes, and then that's all you get. I said, oh, this is a great contract. I'd sign it right away. He goes, I'm not signing that thing. And then I said, well, how about signing my contract? And he did. And so we had already been working together, but we didn't have anything in writing. So I wrote something up, and then I went home and I got something more formal. I sent it to, he signed it. Anyway.
So, I had a question. So, like, am I wrong then? Is my memory wrong where you were getting mailed stuff when somebody would die that was from that group?
I'm getting there.
Sorry. Okay.
We're not there yet.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to rush you.
So I'm there, and we do this contract thing, and he goes, by the way, there's a envelope, manila envelope on the table. Take a look at it. So I pick it up and I pull it out, and there's a letter from Bill Jackson to his daughter, Melissa. And it says, and it was written in 96. Okay. And he said, he's writing to his daughter, and he says, if anything happens to me, I want to make sure that this material goes to Don Rue. He was my best friend and the only one that took my research seriously. So I want to make sure that this goes to him. If he's dead, then there was several names in succession. If he's dead, give it to this guy. If he's dead, then this guy, right? Mm-hmm. So this is 2017. She's like 20 years too late. Anyway, no, he died in 2000. So 17 years later. And she wrote a note and said, hey, I'm really sorry. I found this thing. I misplaced it. She was living in Ireland now. Wow. And so in there were three things. We know from the photos that Bill took of everything he sold to the Vatican, we now have. So we know exactly what he gave them, right? And he got paid a pretty sum, including those two parchments that were in that clay tube.
Yeah.
He gave that to him too. But we have pictures of it. And it was decoded in 2013. There were 4 maps in the Cremona document that Bill sold to the Vatican. We now know there were 8 maps. So in this envelope were maps 5 and 6 that listed where treasure was buried by the Templars. And the third thing was a page filled with Theban script on both sides and a small map on the backside that tells where the Templars got in under the south wall and found a secret ritual chamber and 4 ossuaries filled with stuff. And that's another story. But at the top of the first page turned out to be the cipher phrase that you need to decode what Bill sold to the Vatican. And in his narrative, he makes you think that the page 1 was missing. He never had it. That was page 1. Wow. He gave it to his daughter to give to Don. So basically, he sold the Vatican a worthless document because they
Yeah.
don't have the cipher.
Yeah. Okay.
Boom.
Yeah.
Well, that was when we started to go, well, wait a minute. If he pulled this out, what else did he pull out? Oh my God. He pulled out 90% of the stuff, and the stuff he pulled out was way better than what he gave him. He gave him the alternate resurrection story and a little bit of the Book of the Wars of the Lord.
Which is, I think that book is mentioned in, was it like Exodus or Enoch or something?
Numbers.
In Numbers in the Bible,
Yep.
Old Testament.
And that talks about some pretty controversial stuff that the Vatican wanted. And he gave it to him, but we also have pictures of that, so we know exactly what it says. So we have everything.
Wow.
And so as the years go by, in 1919, John Drake died. In 20, John Lennon died. In 21, Dan Spartan died. In 22, Dave Ryan died. And I mean, we've just been getting material after, and it's all from their estates. And there was always letters. This is to go to Don Rue. And Don's the last man standing, literally the last man standing. And that's one of the things that Bill Jackson said in one of the letters. He said, Don is the youngest of the Spartan personnel and will probably outlive us. And that's exactly what's happened.
Wow. That's
It's
wild.
crazy. It's
super
absolutely
fucking
crazy.
Man.
Yeah, it's just, but, I really feel honored, and fortunate, that, Don trusts us. I mean, we've had some difficult times because he is a born again Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't like some of the messages that we're getting. He doesn't like it at all. But he also understands that it's not about him. And, he can believe what he wants. This is what the Templars, this is what they had. And it doesn't mean he has to accept it. But he knows deep down it's truth. And so I give Don a lot of credit for that. A lot of credit, because he, this doesn't jive with his belief system, but he also knows it's not his right to say whether it's legit or not. He can give his opinion, but he's been really good about it. He has.
So if this stuff, once you release everything and verify things, like, what's the next step? Do you have independent people come in, or will there always be pushback? Or what's the next step after you release this stuff to the public?
I don't know. I have my opinion too, right?
Yeah.
What I don't want people to do is attack the messenger. I've been attacked being the messenger with the runestone and all this stuff for 25 years. And all I'm trying to do is get to the truth. Now, I also understand it goes with the territory, right? But I'm a big boy and I can handle it. And I just say, look, I appreciate your opinion, but opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one and they all stink.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you have evidence that you can bring forward to support your opinion, I'm not interested. I mean, I got 7 books now. This is my evidence and I'm happy to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And in my view, I think we have proven the case. And I guess it's up to the world to decide if they want to accept it or not. I mean, look, what do you want from me? This is what it says. Okay. This is what we got. And now this is my interpretation of what we got, but this is what we got. So don't get in my kitchen, back the F off. And instead of getting offended, butthurt about it, let's talk about it. And let's see if there's merit here. And maybe, the dogma that you have been, led to believe, Maybe it's not right. Maybe there's another story. Maybe it's partially right. I don't know. But the messages that have come to us are consistent, cohesive, and in my mind, conclusive. But that doesn't mean other people are obligated to accept it. They can look at it and decide for themselves. But I love the message. The power of God is within you.
Mm-hmm. It's a great
And
message.
when people learn about the Yeshua scroll message, I didn't write it. I found it. And this is what it says. You can believe it or not. But I will tell you this. It'll fucking freak you out. You're going to go, what the actual F? But what I will say is, after people sort of hear it and just sort of are like punched in the face, and they back up and they start to think about it, especially what's happening in the world today. Critical thinkers are going to go, huh, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And people can decide for themselves. That's it. And you know what? If people don't believe what I believe, or that's fine. I don't have to believe what you do. I respect your opinion. I respect the fact that you have a different opinion than me. That's cool. But you also have to respect my opinion, even though you disagree with it. And this is one of the problems I have with religion. You know, oh, this is the word of God. No, it's not. No, it's not. There isn't some guy up there that's helping, you know, football players score touchdowns or guys hit home runs. Okay. That ain't happening. So just stop. Mm-hmm. And there isn't some guy that's watching over you, making sure that you do all these things the right way. And if you don't, you're going to go to hell or you're going to be punished. That's bullshit. You are responsible for you and nobody else. Now, if it helps you to get through life to believe some guy's watching you and there's 8+ billion other people, I don't know if he's got time to watch out for you or football players and all that crap. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't even pass the smell test. Instead of looking for some outside source, look here. Mm-hmm. Look here. Look inward. I mean, I can tell you because I've done it. Everybody, I mean, just about everybody, at some point in their lives goes through some type of spiritual journey where you try to answer those big questions in life, right? Like, you know, is there a God? What happens after I die? You know, and all that stuff. And regardless of how you pursue that, if you really make the effort to try to understand your spirituality, right? Whether it's to organized religion or some other way, at the end of the day, it always comes back to you. It comes back to us. Mm-hmm. And so, and however you want to get through life, that's your business. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I just know that I can tell you that's what Jesus said. Power of God is in you. It's in all of us.
I love that, and I like how you said it's about us too, because you know, like, it is about us. It's about all of us, and it's about us taking care of each other. It's about us loving each other. It's about us all coming together, and I think that's a great message. And you know, I've talked about consciousness a lot on this conversation series, and you know, whatever consciousness is, you know, it's like you know, it's something that we share, and I think that's where love and creativity comes from, and unity and all that. But I want to ask you too about the God thing. Like, it's always he, and you've brought up the goddess, and I wanted to ask you a question because Um, the last episode I did, I tried to bring up some of the Mason stuff and Templar stuff, and I hope I did some justice to it, or did okay. But some stuff I might have got wrong. But I wanted to ask you, what is the Venus bloodlines?
Well, those are the bloodline families that go back to the 12 people sitting at the Last Supper.
Okay.
So those are the bloodline families. We call them the Venus families because the planet Venus is so integral to their cosmology, their belief system, their driving force. It's and part of the reason why they've stayed underground is because they give pay heavy homage to the sacred feminine, to the goddess, which the Roman Church does not. And they've disrespected the feminine from the get-go by making, Mary Magdalene a whore, for God's sakes. That's crazy. And women can't be priests, and women somehow are less than men. I mean, the misogynist attitude of religion is part of the reason we have all these problems in the world. It's why our daughters, our wives, our mothers are looked upon as somehow second-class citizens. And it's because of the frickin' church. And I'm not gonna mince words. It's their fault. It's misogyny. And these are the people that are running the country right now. And, trying to take away the rights of women and women's choices. And it's bullshit. They should be honoring the feminine, not trying to control her and manipulate her and marginalize her. The women, they're called wisdom for a reason, right?
Sophia, right?
And Sophia is wisdom.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so, and if there's one thing that I will fault organized religion for, is that. And it's going on right now. And I'm not trying to be political. It's just fact. And I wholeheartedly disagree with it. I think it's bullshit, and it needs to stop right now.
Yeah.
And
Yesterday.
You know what? And this is part of the reason why women struggle, right? I mean, if you're brought into this world and you're supposed to believe in a God that somehow says that you are less than your male counterparts, that's just bullshit. It's wrong. And I will never, ever stop saying that. It's just asinine. And then when you look and you find out how many of these Catholic preachers are we finding out are abusive, right? Not just with women, but with children. Mm-hmm. And it's true. I'm not saying something that's inflammatory or blasphemy. It's the fucking truth.
Yeah.
And part of the reason this attitude is pervasive is because some of these people have been elevated and think that they're holier than thou because they are in a position of influence. Mm-hmm. And that's the worst kind of crime to humanity that can happen. When somebody who has a perceived authority, right? A priest or a cleric or whatever, and they use that power to manipulate people and to abuse people. Mm-hmm. And that is absolutely going on. It's been going on in the Roman Catholic Church. Look, their history speaks for itself. And part of the reason we have this problem is because of the way they've treated females, women. Mm-hmm. And it's just absolute bullshit. Mm-hmm. So the Templars' true ideology venerated the feminine above the masculine. Mm-hmm. They used the planet Venus as the physical manifestation of the goddess in the heavens. That's why they call themselves the Venus families, because they're honoring her. And I think that's beautiful. I think it's wonderful. And we need a hell of a lot more of it, especially now. My God, are you kidding me? Look, I don't like abortion, okay? I think people should do everything they can to avoid getting themselves in those positions. But if a woman gets raped, a child gets raped, or an accident happens, I mean, it's tragic. I would, I don't like it, but I also don't like the fact that we have people now that are trying to take away a woman's right to choose what to do with her own body.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't agree with that. I just don't. So
I don't either, and I agree with you. I think, bringing back Altamara, that was one of my favorite parts in her story, was when she went into that temple and it was like supposed to be only virgins could go in. And I
yeah,
think the guy she was with, the Spaniard, was like, hey, why were you in there? You're not a virgin. Like, we've been hooking up, And she's like, oh, the virgin you think of is this like Western, Christian or Catholic ideology. A virgin means
that's not what it means.
yeah, I'm free. I'm a woman that's free to choose who I'm
Right.
with. I'm a woman that's free to, I have my own mind. That's what virgin means. And I
Right.
just thought that was so powerful and such a cool
Yeah.
part.
No, it's really good, and that's one of the things, just a little concept like that comes through in the journals that breathes authenticity into it, right? And there's just so few people that truly understand that concept on one hand, and that concept was embraced historically by this group of people.
Mm.
Nobody knows this. I mean, it's astonishing. Over the years, I've been talking about the goddess and the sacred feminine, and how the Cistercians and the Templars venerated the Virgin Mary, but she was just a metaphor, right? And that would have been acceptable to the church to honor her, but that's not who she really represented to them, and they got away with it. And it wasn't until 200 years later, when the church finally figured out what the hell the Templars were doing, that's why they were pissed off. That's why they burned them and roasted them. They duped them the whole time.
Mm.
And I love it. We know what their true ideology was now, because I'm in the order. It's not a Masonic order. I'm in a non-Masonic Templar order, and this is the tradition. And I know it's the tradition. The tradition found me after I found the truth. They came to me and basically said, "You got it, man.
Wow.
You want to join us?" I said, "Fuck yeah."
Well, what time, how are we doing on time here?
We're 17.
Are you good for just a little bit longer? Can I ask you a couple more questions?
Sure.
This has been great, man. Just some other stuff I wanted to clear up or just talk to you about. Timothy Hogan. I watched some of his podcasts that he's done, and I know you're friends with him. And you're with him in speaking of Templars, are you with the Templar Collegia that he's with?
Yeah, I've been I'm part of the Collegia, but
okay.
There's more than that.
There's more than that. Okay. I've just heard some claims from him about the 10 different arcs, arcs of the covenant, and I just wanted to ask you about that. Like, I think he said the Templars have 6 of them, and then 3 of them are somewhere else. I thought the Catholic Church had the other 3, but I was probably wrong. And then
I don't know where those other ones are, but
okay.
6 of them are over here.
Okay.
In North America. That's in the journals. I mean, that's listed in the journals. And I've always said, and actually one of the pages that Jackson sold to the Vatican was the instructions on how to build an ark, how to make one. So the secret of the ark isn't where it is, it's how to make one. And what's cool is that, and I don't really want to go into the details. I'll let somebody else do that. But in Freemasonry, the ingredients are actually inculcated within our degrees and our symbolism. And I didn't know that until I got this page, and it's encrypted, but we were able to decipher it. And now I know what the ingredients are, how to make one. But it's basically a battery. It's not like it's 100 different things. It's a few things, and it's a power source is what it is.
Okay. And you'd place these power sources at different parts of the world, and it gives like a lot of energy or free energy or
Yeah, I think so. I think
okay.
it sets up a worldwide communication system
Wow.
and a power grid.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Tim and I talked a lot about the Atlantean culture that existed before the Younger Dryas. And there was I mean, if you look around the world, you will see different temples, and there's similarities to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening right now, and will continue to happen, as more and more science is conducted on these temples, they're going to get older and older and older and older. And they will eventually go back and predate the Younger Dryas impact, which happened about 12,500 to 13,000 years ago. But there was a high culture that existed before that. And those are what we now call the Atlanteans. So the idea that Atlantis is a place is not correct. It was a high culture that existed prior to that catastrophic impact.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
Are you familiar with the Younger Dryas?
Yeah, I have Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson and
yeah, Randall.
Yeah, you're friends with Randall, right?
I'm gonna be with him in January.
Oh wow, yeah, it's wild. Even
later January, he and I and some other people are getting together, and we're going to talk about releasing some new information collectively as a group.
So that's so cool. What's like even with like UAP disclosure, what's going on with like our government trying to do a controlled disclosure of like, oh, there's these UFOs are real. That's everyone that, I mean, no one's really arguing about that now. Like we know UFOs and UAP are real, but now it's like, who are they? What do they want? Kind of thing. But like with the Masons and the Templars, it seems like you guys have all this knowledge of like, and it seems like you guys have artifacts, like whether it's Jesus's bones, John the Baptist's bones, Arks of the Covenant. What else we got here? I know you guys got all this stuff or claiming to have this stuff, but you're saying you're going to release it. So it feels like when we got the government going like slow release, it feels like the Masons are kind of doing like a slow release of stuff as well. And it's all happening at the same fucking time. So I'm just like, what's real, bro? You know?
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, I'm not the Grand Master, so there are certain things that I don't have any say over, right? But you know, I'm unless I'm told not to, and nobody's ever told me not to say anything directly. I've been told to be careful about how I, you know, handle things, and I'm being very careful with this Yeshua scroll.
Mm-hmm.
But it is now disclosure time.
Yeah.
It's time to reveal the secrets. It's time to reveal the truth and help fix the world, because the world is fucked up right now.
Very.
And very fucked up. And but you know, politics is part of it, and the leadership in this country is letting us down. And I think in many ways the ship has to break up on the rocks and then be rebuilt all over again. And I think it's hitting the rocks right now. I think it's all going to come crumbling down. And what's important is how we rebuild it. What are we going to do? How are we going to treat each other? How are we going to treat the planet? How are we going to treat them? And repair that relationship. So there's a lot of things that are going to happen in the very near future. And we're living through a incredible time right now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it has to do with precession of the equinoxes. We're transitioning from Pisces to Aquarius right now. And a lot of stuff is supposed to happen. It's supposed to be a time of great strife, upheaval, difficulties. And that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I was told when I was approached by the government several years ago to participate in disclosure was to make sure that we got the message out that they have a vested interest in Earth too. Earth is one of the crown jewels of the universe that's teeming with life. And we're not the only ones that call this place home. We tend to think that it's our place, but there have been people coming here for a long time. And they're pulling for us. They want us to do well. But it's up to us, the human race.
Oh, man.
We have to decide. Well, that's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
But if we don't fix it, they're not going to fix it for us. The one thing they will not let us do is destroy the planet with a nuclear war, because that would destroy the planet. They don't, if we fuck ourselves up, we deserve it. And if we wipe out the human race, that's fine. The earth will keep spinning, life will continue, and it'll be something different. That would be a shame. What I've been told is they're pulling for us. They want us to succeed because part of us is them. But they're not going to fix it. So this is a wake-up call for humanity. We got to get rid of the clown show that we have right now going in our government. And we need to bring back people that care about people.
I agree with that.
Period. And I don't care if you're a Trumper, you picked the wrong guy. You fucked up. Sorry, you did. And you're going to realize that at some point. But we just got to ride it out. It's not going to be much longer. And once he goes, then we can start to fix the shit show that we've created.
I think the president thing is just weird in general. Just the one guy in charge kind of thing. I just think it's just kind of weird. I think,
not just that, but the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
that
Supreme
is totally
Court.
out of balance. And I don't know what the hell they're thinking. They are young souls that can't think beyond, they don't care about anybody else. They're all caught up in this religious dogma. Mm-hmm. And we're paying the price for it. But, sometimes things have to be completely broken before you can fix it again. And that's what we're seeing. And I'm sorry to tell people that might lean that way, but if you open up your heart, you open up your mind, you open up your brain. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
See.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they take care of each other, man.
Yes. I mean,
and the planet.
Because somebody's from Mexico or from Venezuela or Norway or wherever the fuck you're from.
Mm-hmm.
We all were born with the same inalienable rights.
Mm-hmm.
They're people too.
Mm-hmm.
They have the power in them. It's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's insanity.
I agree
try
with
to
you.
pretend like the great white race. Stop it. Jesus. How'd that work for Hitler?
Yeah. Not well.
Not well.
Yeah.
But the world paid for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
we're still paying for it.
Well, we need to be smarter. We just need to think things through and take care of our planet. My God, you don't shit in your living room, do you? Why are we doing that to our planet? Mm-hmm. This is our home. And it's not just our home. It's their home too. Mm-hmm. And they don't like what we're doing.
Okay, wait, can I ask you? So when we say they, Is it
Extraterrestrials.
is it extraterrestrial in your opinion, or is it
Oh, it
like
is.
older humans that went away and came back? Or
Oh,
okay, you think it's
it's
ET?
ETs.
Okay.
It's
Have you
ETs.
heard of that new documentary that came out called The Age of Disclosure?
I've heard of it, yeah,
It
but
was
I've lived it.
fascinating, man. You
I've
gotta,
lived it.
yeah,
I know exactly what's going on. I was approached by the government,
yeah.
and and they educated me to what's
So what?
really going on.
So that's. Do you think that? So that's just the whole part of this is they're just trying to like
I do
slowly
think we're
tell us.
talking about it for the last several years.
Yeah,
It's getting more and more intense. We're seeing more and more. There's a reason for that.
yeah.
We're being slowly indoctrinated, and indoctrinated maybe isn't the right word, but being prepared. So that
Acclimated,
it's not going to be a
prepared.
shock, and people aren't going to go, oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so obvious. They've been around forever. I mean, our government has agreements with them. It's
Well, I had a question too because the Oak Island book. Let me read this part real quick. This was a I wrote this down. Um, it's there's this part where it's from I think 1898, and what page was it on? I think it was page 50, 51, where he says, "I saw the lights again. Could be an ill omen.
oh
The
yeah,
right one descended upon the winter lodge, and behold, there stood the likeness of Ammon. He was in a common dress, medium
Aman,
height, and he had Ammon,
not a man, Aman,
Ammon, and he had his eyes were
Aman.
light blue. So like, was that supposed to be a alien or what is that?
Yep, for sure.
Why does it look like us?
Well, because some of them look like us. Some of them are us. Some of them are walking among us. Some of them know that they're aliens, some don't.
What?
Certain races look exactly like us.
What the heck?
Yeah. And
Oh
you know
man.
how he says he spoke unto me in my native tongue English? That's
Yeah.
all telepathy.
Oh,
They're
whoa.
talking like this. They're not talking. They're talking.
Speaking of telepathy, have you heard of the telepathy tapes, that podcast?
No.
Oh man, Scott, you got to check out the telepathy tapes, man. That's another part of disclosure that's happening right now. That's like these nonverbal autistic children, young adults. But Kai Dickens is the host of the telepathy tapes.
Yeah.
They're interviewing these families, you know, and the families are from like all different religions, all different races, and these people are communicating telepathically and doing certain things. And I just think it's fascinating, but it seems like it's a part of disclosure as well, you know?
Well, I think it probably is. But you know, the thing about it is, um, I'll try to I'll give you a couple examples. Like I'm an athlete. I played a lot of football. I played a lot of all kinds of sports. But you know how when you're with a group of guys and it clicks, it works, and it's like you're all on the same page, and it doesn't matter what the play is. You know you're going to shut them down. You just know it, and you know you just connect. You get this collective vibe with a certain group, and it doesn't always happen. It doesn't happen every game. It happened with the Vikings yesterday. They played a perfect football game, but I was there.
Oh, Red.
You know what I'm saying, right? And
Yeah.
you get
As a musician, I get that too. Like there's been parts where yeah,
music is absolutely,
yeah,
you know, when you go to a concert and you're hearing, you know, like, you know, the best song, and everybody's grooving and just and it's like that collective consciousness, right?
Mhm.
And it's such a beautiful, wonderful thing to just when you're, or even if you're, and I'm not a musician, but I love music, and I can only imagine what it's like when you're a musician and you're like singing a song, or you just connect with a song. It's like, okay, this is right. But when I listen to music, there is sometimes just your favorite songs, they just hit you in such a deep place, and it feels so good, right?
Mm-hmm.
that is what this is kind of about, right? It's analogous to that. It's like when you're on the same page with a person, or maybe a group of people, or teammates. You just have the right vibe. Today, we're getting together. We're going to do it. Let's go. And you're all together, and it just happens, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that collective consciousness that goes back to this, the power of God is within you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you connect that way, and I think, frankly, most humans are just too spiritually immature. They get it, what we're talking about when you connect, but they don't know how to manifest that and really harvest that every day, you know, and just understand that it's right here. It's right
Mm-hmm.
here. And then when you get like-minded people, then it becomes collective and it amplifies the whole thing. Imagine if our whole planet could come together like that.
I mean, I that's why I love Star Trek, because Star Trek to me,
Yeah.
you know, like when I was a kid, I would watch Star Trek and then I'd go
You're
to
talking
church.
the original.
Huh?
The original.
Yeah, the original, but all of them. I all the way up till
all of them are good too. Yeah. But I
like,
love the first one. I love the first one.
yeah, the first one's great, but
Yeah.
it made me see a future where, you know, all of us are working together and we get to explore the cosmos. And I want that for humanity. Like,
Yeah.
I want that for
Yeah.
all of us, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, I just find it so funny that one of the biggest controversies of the original Star Trek is when Kirk kissed Uhura.
Oh,
It was
God,
the first interracial kiss
Yeah.
on television.
yeah.
Yes, in context with the time, it was a big deal, but it's like, who fucking cares? It's
Mhm.
like nothing, you know?
It's so badass that they did that too. And
Well,
I learned recently that Lucille Ball is one of the reasons we have Star Trek too. 'Cause
That's
she was, like,
right.
funding
Because
it. And stuff.
Desolate Studios is
Mhm.
where they made that, and they made an initial pilot, and it was a different Kirk,
Mhm.
who eventually would be on some later episodes. What was his name? Jeff Hunter. Jeffrey
Yeah,
Hunter.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
And,
Pike. He was
and
Pike.
it
They
didn't-
started with Pike and then they went to Kirk.
It went
And
to
Pike was the pilot. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah.
And but Lucy was the one that said, yeah, let's do it again, right? And
Oh, I
Gene
love her.
Roddenberry, you know, he was a brother, right?
No, I didn't actually.
Yeah, he's a 33rd degree Scottish Rite
Whoa.
Freemason. So a lot of those concepts, I'm sure, were Masonically inspired.
Wow.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
That's cool.
he was a brother.
Well, so how far are you up now on the chain here? And
I'm a 32nd.
okay.
Maybe someday a 33rd. I don't know. I to be honest with you, I know what the secrets are at the 33rd, so it doesn't happen. It's not a big deal. But I've done, you know, I'm a York Rite, Sir Knight. I've been knighted, and I've been invited into some side orders. I'm also a Rosicrucian. I've done a lot of stuff, and it's all good. It's all great stuff. I've learned a lot about the history of these orders, and it ties in very closely with much of this history that we've been working on with the CDOC and the journals. So it's all the learning that I've done is all sort of paying dividends now. It's all coming together in a really beautiful way, and I can't wait for the rest of the story to come out.
Yeah, man, me either, man. I'm excited to follow your work. Everyone check out Scott's books. This was really cool, man. I'll let you go.
Yeah. Hey, if people and yes, this is a shameless plug, but if you want
No, do it, dude.
Honestly,
Do it.
The best story I have ever heard is in this book right here. The Greatest Templar Tale Never Told, the Sinclair Weymss Journals. And I'm right now, you can only buy them off my website.
Okay. I'll put the link. I'll put the link in the.
Yeah, it's scottfwolter.com. But I sign every book that is bought.
Oh, nice.
And I send them out. But the official release isn't until February 10th. So if you
Okay.
want it for Christmas, you got to go off my website.
Rad.
Yeah,
I'll have links to a lot of the stuff we talked about. They'll be in the episode notes. And
sounds
I
great.
really
man.
appreciate you doing this. And I just want to say thank you again, dude. You were my first episode. And after that, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna keep doing this, but it kind of like just, I've met so many great people, and you're a
Yeah.
big reason for that. And I'm glad I
Oh.
got to meet you too.
Well,
So
thank you. I appreciate it.
thanks, Scott.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and come on again. You're welcome
Okay.
anytime.
Well, you know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah. All right. See ya.
Okay. Take care.